Dragon Claw will be secure on the knockout. It's time to put it all on Toxicroat. Out comes Toxicroat. These Dragon Breaths tearing us apart. I overfarm. Fire off the Mud Bomb. Secure on the knockout. The opponent's final Pokemon is Ampharos Toxicroat. Made of paper. The opponent's win con is going to be to Volt Switch farm down. Win con for us is going to be to reach the back-to-back Mud Bombs. The first one forces the final Protect Shield and a 1 HP and a Dream. Toxicroat says, hold my beer, I've got this. Welcome back to the channel, aka the home of Shadow Pokemon. Recently, we had one of the best Rocket events we have ever had with so many new Shadow Pokemon. I'm sure by now you've seen a lot of them from other content creators and a lot from myself as well. However, one thing I'm yet to see is Toxicroat in the Open Ultra League. I think that's for a few reasons. It is absurdly expensive to build. It cost me 600,000 Stardust. And the second reason is because a lot of people are hyped on the other newly released fighter, Annihilape. Mostly because it's a fighter that can beat other fighters. However, Toxicroat, due to its sub-poison typing, also has this ability. It took me so long to put this video out as I've been so broke on resources. I had no Stardust and no TMs. I actually had to drop a lot of in real life money. I bought 20,000 coins to grind eggs, etc. in the recent event. And today we finally have a Toxicroat built. If you appreciate that grind that I had to commit to bring you this showcase, I'd appreciate you smashing that like button. But with that being said, without any further ado, let's get into the battle. And in game 1, Toxicroat picks up a great lead. Niantic says, after dropping all your hard-earned resources, have a lead against the basic bitch tin can. And I say thank you fucking very much. The opponent says switches into Giratina, and I answer with the big thick boy, aka Shadow Snorlax. When I built the Toxicroat, I was thinking, what do I want to pair it with? I thought, of course, Toxicroat is going to be dreadful into Cresselia, dreadful into all the other ghosts, like this stupid Giratina, Jellicent, Trevenant, etc. So I thought I'm going to have two things that can beat that in the form of Shadow Snorlax and Shadow Drifblim. Drifblim was another insanely expensive build, also costing me around 600,000. I've used it twice, so today we give it another run out. I could have actually shielded once with Snorlax, lick farmed all the way down and threatened the superpower, but where's the fun in that? We're going to send out a balloon, look for the Hex farm down, leave with the Mystical Fire to dump into Registeel, because one Mud Bomb certainly isn't going to knock out. We're going to need some chip damage. I fire off the Mystical Fire, pivot back into Toxicroat, drawing out Clefable. Things don't look fantastic. However, trainer, there are no baits on this channel. We're going to full send the Shadow Ball. The opponent shows no respect, and just like that, Toxicroat is about to be a Clefable counter confirmed. Of course, we're going to start investing Protect Shields. After landing the Shadow Ball, Clefable is in resisted counter farm down range. However, I opt to throw the Mud Bomb. That's for two reasons. If I want to counter farm all the way down, it's going to cost me 2 Protect Shields. So I dump the Mud Bomb, either looking to save my final Protect Shield or force one back off the opponent. The opponent opts to give up a Protect Shield, and either way, win con from here is going to be fairly simple. Back out comes the Tin Can. We fire off the Mud Bomb, forcing the final Protect Shield. Regi has its cheapest move, potentially at 70 energy if they've got Flash Cannons. So all we've got to do is ensure we're only 4 counters off the next charge move. So if they went to 100 energy, fired off a Flash Cannon, there are 30 remaining, 4 counters, would be 8 lock-ons, they'd get back to 70 energy and Toxicroat would win CMP. However, they actually threw this out, popping my balloon, so either way, we take that game. Oh, hello Sandslash, nice to see you nice. The opponent say switch into Annihilape, and we answer with the balloon. I'm going to shield the first move. The opponent farmed up to the Shadow Ball. Of course, they bait with the Ice Punch. I could nuke him with the Shadow Ball. However, what I'm actually looking to do here is throw the Mystical Fire. The opponent thinks, fuck it, I called the bait. I'm in a great spot. Well, actually, you're not. Because we're going to get a huge Hex farm down. One Shadow Ball isn't going to be lethal. And we're going to leave with the Mystical Fire. I'm looking top right. If Sandslash does return, we're just going to throw the Mystical Fire instantly. This is double super effective. The first one forces the Protect Shield. We even make the second one. Is the opponent willing to 2 shield? They are not. They near get 1 shot. We send back out Toxicroat. The opponent pivot out into Tentacruel, and Toxicroat is core breaking this team. I farm up, throw the Mud Bomb. Mud Bomb goes unshielded. The opponent might think their squid's thick, but evidently it isn't thick enough. We then pivot out into Snorlax to operate as the damage sponge. The opponent fire off the Scald, of course getting the debuff. However, don't worry, in a few days, that Scald is definitely getting nerfed. Snorlax farms up, throws the Body Slam, forces the final Protect Shield. The opponent is going to outpace to Scald number 2. We've just got to save our shield for Toxicroat, and this should be GG's. You can see I send out Toxicroat. We do lag a turn. However, we still manage to get the counter farm down, and the opponent concedes the match. After seeing 2 consecutive good leads for the first time since about 2021 or Season 5, of course we see a nightmare lead. The Kentucky Fried Chicken, Bird of Death, we see the instant pivot into the big thick boy and go straight for the body slam. The body slam landing is going to be huge for me as it puts Talonflame into more manageable health range in the end game. The opponent answers my Snorlax safe switch with this ever annoying bulky squirrel. I farm off boatload of energy, throw the body slam first as one superpower definitely doesn't knock out. And if I lower my own defense, we would get knocked out from a body slam at this range. You can see Snorlax does survive with no debuff. I then throw the superpower on the CMP type. Superpower does land Rocking Gredent deep into the red. And we're now actually sitting in an alright spot. The opponent dumps their energy, which is now going to allow Toxicroat to come in and not even have to tank a body slam. Toxicroat does get the full counter farm down. We then pivot out into the balloon. The opponent sends back out Talonflame, farm up to 100 energy. I'm actually not going to shield the balloon here, thinking Talonflame is in a range where worst case scenario we could just counter farm it down with Toxicroat. The opponent then pivot out into Virizion and Toxicroat is looking primed to sweep. We fire off the first Mystical Fire. We're able to reach Mystical Fire number 2. The opponent should have really shielded, however they had other ideas, thinking Talonflame is the win con. However, trainer Toxicroat doesn't give a crap about type-ins. We actually managed to Hex farm down Virizion. We get off 1 further Hex, lowering Talonflame's health further. We now send out Toxicroat. These counters are resisted, but Toxicroat with an insanely high attack stat, going to be able to 2 shield, counter farm down Talonflame, and Toxicroat is a Talonflame counter confirmed. You heard it here first. GG's, and thanks for playing. Heading into the next battle. Oof, them good leads didn't last long. We see Giratina in the lead. We're going to throw 5 counters, look to catch the Dragon Claw onto the big thick boy, banking all of that energy. I think banking energy on Toxicroat is always key, because if Toxicroat gets aligned with Giratina, somewhere down the line, with an energy lead, we can potentially nuke him with the Shadow Ball. The opponent answers my big thick boy safe switch with that pesky Alolan Ninetales. Snorlax isn't too bad in this matchup. We could play out the ones, look to force a shield off the opponent. However, I don't think the opponent's going to give me switch, so instead I'm just going to keep 2 protect shields and send back out Toxicroat. The opponent is 4 charms off the next Weather Ball, so we're going to come in, throw 6 counters, throw the Mud Bomb on the CMP, so once again maximising our energy. Mud Bomb goes unshielded. I imagine Giratina does return, and it's time to find out how much Shadow Ball does. There is no baiting, we full send the Shadow Ball. Shadow Ball goes unshielded, and holy, that is very respectable damage. We then pivot out into the balloon. I make a huge mistake here, reluctant to shield my balloon, thinking Giratina hits like a wet noodle. However, you can see the opponent is running double charm. To be honest, even if I would have shielded that move, the opponent probably charm farm does everything. So I'm just going to say fuck this and concede the match. In the next battle, we see yet another tough lead. In the form of Shadow Charizard, we save switch into Snorlax. The opponent farm up a boatload of energy and then send out Virizion. Things have gone from bad to worse. Snorlax save switch used to be king in the early seasons. However, since these Swords of Justice got double kick, this thing has been very difficult to use. However, this season, with Talonflame getting the buff, they've been less common, so Snorlax I think does have play again. However, evidently I'm getting algorithm the shit out of. I'm just kidding. It's not actually too bad into the Swords of Justice. His double kick doesn't do much damage. It's stuff like Poliwrath you really need to fear. Snorlax gets Virizion pretty low. We can then send out Toxicroat, only tank 1 move, counter farm down. We know Charizard is going to return. You normally see me spamming the switch. However, in this scenario, we're actually going to look to dump some energy off Charizard. The opponent fire off a Dragon Claw, thinking it'll get the job done. It does not. We then pivot out into the balloon. This is enough for a Blast Burn, and I am going to respect it. We correctly shield up the Blast Burn. Okay, do we have a chance? The opponent's final Pokemon is Registeel, and this is where Mystical Fire is going to come in clutch. Not only is it hit for super effective, it also lowers their attack. You can see we're able to reach 2 before the opponent reaches the first Zap Cannon. The first one did land, the second one forces a Protect Shield. Charizard did dump its energy, so I'm actually going to shield up the first Zap Cannon. Look to debuff Registeel once again. So when we finally have to tank a Zap Cannon, it's going to be 3-stage debuff. The opponent actually give up their final Protect Shield. And this now gives us a win con. As long as we can manage our energy well, the opponent fire off the Zap Cannon, the balloon easily survives. The opponent then pivot out into Charizard, and Charizard is going to be greeted with a Shadow Ball. Get that Charizard out of here! We then go for that wham, bam, combo play, pivot out into Toxicroat, fire off the Mud Bomb. Mud Bomb isn't lethal, but 2 counters is going to be all she wrote. And we managed to take that game despite the unfavourable alignment. Let's get it. In the next battle, yet another Giratina. Yikes. This one is on Dragon Breath, which makes it even worse. My God, am I paying for them back-to-back good leads as soon as I use Toxicroat, as it has been hard counter city ever since. The opponent answered my Snorlax save switch with a Lowland Muck. Once again, not fantastic, as Snorlax, much like Licky, far too thicky in the Great League, relies on its lick damage adding up over time. I've got no idea what the opponent's farming up to. They farm up to 100 energy, then completely sack Muck. This is in the 2900s. I have no idea what this opponent's doing. We managed to take back Switch somehow, and we haven't even invested a Protect Shield. We've even managed to lick Giratina into the yellow. We can now send out the balloon. We're going to tank any one move. Ancient Power, Shadow Sneak, both hit for super effective, but I don't really care. I was expecting the opponent to go for the Chip and Dip, however, as they're staying in, I'm thinking, crap, I probably should have shielded up that Shadow Sneak, as the balloon might be good against whatever they have in the back. We shield up the Dragon Claw Return Fire with the Mystical Fire. You can see we've got Giratina into the red. How my Drifblim is rapidly run out of HP, so we're just going to save our final shield for Toxicroat and pray. I send out Toxicroat, I overfarm as much as I dare, fire off the Mud Bomb. Mud Bomb will be secure in the knockout. The opponent's final Pokemon is revealed to be Ampharos. Win con for the opponent is going to be to Volt Switch farm down. Win con for us is going to be to reach 2 moves. The first Mud Bomb forces the opponent's final Protect Shield, quite literally on 1 HP and a Dream. We make Mud Bomb number 2 and we take that game. Hallelujah, the tough leads have finally come to an end. The opponent save switch into Squidward. I'm going to look to Chip and Dip with the Mud Bomb. The opponent actually chooses to invest that Protect Shield. And I think I actually go to the wrong save switch here. We should have went to the balloon, as due to our sub ghost typing, we would resist the oppressive poison jab damage. However, the issue with going to Drifblim in neutral situation, Hex does pretty much nothing, whereas Snorlax's one turn lick does really start to chunk. We land the first Body Slam. I look to fire off Body Slam number 2, but I actually lose CMP. I'll be honest, I didn't know that at the time, but now I do, and you all do as well. If both mon have optimal PvP IVs, Tentacruel generally has around a 2 higher attack. So if you're on an attack weighted Snorlax, that is a CMP that you actually can win. The opponent pivot out, back into Guzzlord. We do reach the departing superpower, but as we got our attack low, it doesn't do all that much damage. We then save Snorlax, pivot back out into Toxicroat. The opponent fires off the crunch, fishing for the debuff, which they don't get. Toxicroat, insanely glassy. Just look at this Dragon Tail damage. We fire off the Mud Bomb. Mud Bomb does secure the knockout. The opponent waits out their clock. They then send out Skeledirge. They get a 1 Incinerate, running start. I play these battles. This one was actually at 4:39 AM according to my phone, and I make a huge misplay. I know the opponent's going to look to make a catch at some stage. They attempt to make the catch, pivoting back out into Tentacruel, and I throw energy. That is such a huge misplay. The opponent CMP tied me, then pivoted, so I could have farmed all the way down. You're going to see I wait 2 full turns, trying to get myself some redemption, making a catch back onto Snorlax. However, it's going to be too little, too late. You've always got to be on track with energy management. Drifblim was easily healthy enough to survive a Scald, which at worst they would have made. They wouldn't have made a Blizzard, so I could have just Hex farmed down, left at 100 energy, back-to-back Shadow Ball. This Crocodile took the game, however I played like a potato, and we take the loss. GG's to that opponent. A lot of people say content creators only show their wins, however I think it's great to show your losses and talk through what you did poorly. I've actually only played once since Go Battle Days, so I think that's a combination of playing in the stupid hours and also being very rusty, as I've only played 5 sets in over 2 weeks. But it is what it is, you can't win them all. Jamie Finn is very washed up, we're just here trying to have some fun and make some cool content. Trust me, I'm dying inside after throwing that game, it actually hurts my soul. However, returning to the commentary, Toxicroat into Zgredent, the opponent save switch into Squidward. You can see even Drifblim doesn't have the best matchup here. I'm forced to invest the Protect Shield if I want to keep alignment. The opponent then send out Guzzlord. The opponent might actually shield this, fearful. We've got Icy Wind. The opponent does indeed invest that Protect Shield. We can then send out Toxicroat. Look to get off as much counter damage as possible. The opponent fire off the Dragon Claw. We'll then pivot out into Zgredent. We're going to throw 4 counters. Look to catch the Body Slam onto the big thick boy. We saw this matchup play out earlier. 1 Body Slam and 1 Superpower leave it into the red. However, as I've got 4 counters off, I think 1 Body Slam and Superpower might actually knock out this time. Despite Mud Shot hitting Toxicroat for super effective, of course Dragon Tail is going to do objectively more damage, so I think the opponent probably won't shield Zgredent, which definitely gives me the opportunity to land the Superpower. We go straight for it. Does the opponent respect the damage? They do not. They do indeed save that final Protect Shield for Guzzlord. You can see I'm looking to pivot, resetting my debuff. Switch timer does pop up. We bank the move, We then pivot out into Toxicroat, throw the Mud Bomb. I got a 1-turn switch to actually throw on alignment, and that might actually cost me. However, luckily for me, the opponent fires off when they're at the back-to-back. However, we sneak the counter. We're going to be able to win CMP tie. This Mud Bomb will be forcing the opponent's final Protect Shield. Even if the opponent undercharged this, it's still going to knock out. Snorlax does have the move banked. I think again we're on 1 HP and a dream. And we're going to be able to take a very close game. GG's to that opponent. So let's talk about when to throw charge moves when you switch. If you switch after a charge move, you're going to get a 0-turn swap. So you still want to throw out 1, 4 and 7, 2-turn into 3-turn. However, if you switch out when you've not thrown a charge move, you're going to get a 1-turn switch. You need to throw an extra fast move. So instead of 1, 4 and 7, you want to throw out 2, 5 and 8. In the next battle, you see Toxicroat into Annihilape. We throw the Mud Bomb bait on the CMP tie, forcing a Protect Shield. I was almost certain the opponent would bait my Shadow Toxicroat. They did not. Fair play opponent. And then pivot out into Tentacruel. We fire off the Shadow Ball. Shadow Ball does land. We're going to bank some energy and then send out the big thick boy to operate as the damage sponge. It'd be really nice if we didn't get debuffed for the first time in the video. Ask and you shall receive. Scold doesn't debuff me. You're going to see this time I overfarm, intentionally throw on the CMP tie because I want to leave minimal farm for the likely return and Annihilape. As despite me having 2 Protect Shields, I don't want to give them too much of a running start. Body Slam isn't lethal and we leave it perfect 1 counter range. Ironically, we left so low as the opponent did get the attack drop the second time, meaning they actually survived the Body Slam. The opponent then sends out Giratina, Switch Timer pops up, Drifblim, very good against the remainder of the opponent's team. So we're just going to pivot, saving Snorlax as a potential 3rd shield. We full send the Shadow Ball, forcing the opponent's final Protect Shield. The opponent gets super greedy. They allow me to reach Shadow Ball. Number 2, get that Giratina out of here. Back out comes Annihilape. These counters are triple resisted. There really is no win con. We're just going to shield up whatever the opponent throw. They full send the Shadow Ball. We return fire with the Mystical Fire. And we're going to be able to take that game. In the next battle, we see the Bear Trap. Holy cow, I've not seen one of these things in Ultra League forever. The opponent actually opts to stay in, so we need to be mindful that we're going to need to save Toxicroat. We farm up, throw the Mud Bomb on the CMP tie to the Earthquake. Mud Bomb I thought might knock out as Toxicroat is very attack weighted. It actually does not. As always, I just power these Pokemon up, go straight to battle. And if I make a play that I think could be a misplay, I'll look on PV Pokes. Even if I would have went straight Shadow Ball actually wouldn't have knocked out, as Mud Bomb does 33.3% and Shadow Ball only does 34.7%. So Mud Bomb definitely is the way to go, as it costs less energy and allows you to leave with residual energy. The opponent sends out Cresselia. Of course, we pivot into the big thick boy, which is our soft counter, drawing out Venusaur. The opponent fires off the Frenzy Plant. The big thick boy absorbs the damage, forced to Protect Shield with the Body Slam. The opponent is now forced to dump energy, and this leaves it in perfect farm down range for our balloon. Drifblim is one of the hardest checks in the entire game for Venusaur's very hard hitting charge moves. Both Frenzy Plant and Sludge Bomb are double resisted. However, if you are Venusaur on this battle, you should go for Frenzy Plant as it is better DPE. I did actually attempt to make a catch onto Toxicroat. Not that you'd ever be able to make this catch, as if the opponent throws it good timing, you're going to be stuck in the Hex animation. Back out comes Cresselia. We full send the Shadow Ball and that does huge damage. As we've landed the Shadow Ball, we're just going to be able to go Mystical Fire from here. The opponent really needs to start shielding. We throw 1 Hex and the charge move for good timing. You're going to see I actually have the Shadow Ball here. This is unfamiliarity with how Hex works with its energy generation. But either way, Mystical Fire is enough to take that game. Heading into the final battle of the video. My god, would I love to land a Shadow Ball on this jellyfish. We throw 7 counters. Try our luck at catching a Shadow Ball that the opponent is never throwing onto the big thick boy. We then get hard countered somewhat with Cobalion. But the cool thing here is with Snorlax, we have the ability to hit the super effective with the superpower. We throw the superpower, the first one, forces the Protect Shield. The opponent looks for the full double kick farm down. So we're going to continue to try and throw at good timing, as my timing has been pretty subpar in this video. Even the debuffed superpower still lands for huge super effective damage. We can now send out Toxicroat to operate as the damage sponge. I'm not going to say that all that often, but we do wall this energy. The opponent fire off the Sacred Saw, then try the luck of throwing the Stone Edge. Toxicroat very glassy, but we do survive. The opponent then go for the wham bam combo play. I am going to shield up this Surf. We're going to throw 1 counter and the Shadow Ball. Come on, trainer. It's only a Mud Bomb. I promise. Shadow Ball. Go shielded. We then pivot into Drifblim, catching the next Surf. Fun fact here is Drifblim has a higher attack than Jellicent, so we're going to be able to farm up, throw the Shadow Ball on the CMP tie, and you know what time it is. Get that Jellicent out of here! The opponent then sends out Drapion, and this looks rough. The opponent looking to overfarm, so we're just going to throw the Mystical Fire. As this is a Shadow Drifblim, one Mystical Fire will put them into Mud Bomb range. The opponent perfectly overfarm, and now we just need to be careful of the opponent making a potential catch. So the key to making sure the opponent doesn't make a catch is pause a turn. So we're going to shield up this crunch. We're going to throw one counter, pause a turn. You can see I actually paused 2 turns. I watched that game back. I sent it to Wong. I was like, how the fuck did the opponent catch? And he said, Jamie, you're a fucking potato. Your reflexes have got slow. You need to play more often. So with that in mind, despite me attempting to pause, we managed to screw up that game. GG's to that opponent. So those were the battles with my newly built Shadow Toxicroat. I think Toxicroat is such a slept on pick. I think it is very, very good in this meta, although very expensive. I think today's gameplay was pretty subpar from me. I did take 2 weeks off, and whenever I take long breaks in the game, I come back, and of course I'm going to be rusty, like anyone would, so I won't be too hard on myself. But with that in mind, we've got a few days left of the season, so I'm going to continue to battle for the last few days, trying to make sure my gameplay is back on point for the start of the new season. So if you've got any Shadow Pokemon you'd like to see in action, post it down below, and I'll look to get a showcase out. So just like to say a huge thank you to everyone for the recent support I'm getting. If you'd like your battles featured on my channel, a link to a battle submission form is down below. If you're new, consider subscribing, and I will see you all in the next one.